Okay, cool. So we're going to speak with us today. So you studied in the UK, right?
Yes, I did.
So I'm wondering why you chose to go study over there to get your PhD.
When I was finishing my bachelor's degree, I wanted to do a graduate degree. I applied to British schools because at that time you could go straight into a PhD program from your BA. And the honors advisor that I had at the University of Victoria really wanted me to do that, so he really pushed for me to only look at British schools. So that's how I ended up in the UK.
So why did you pick Durham?
They offered me the most money, so it was free to go there. My tuition was paid for, and I got a scholarship that covered my living expenses. So, it was a really good offer.
How much would you have to pay if they didn't cover your tuition?
I can't remember exactly what it would have been. For a foreign student as well, I had to also get a scholarship so that I didn't have to pay foreign fees. So if I hadn't had any of that stuff, it probably would have worked out to around $50,000 a year at that time. And that was like 22 or 23 years ago.
So why did you choose to get into history?
Well, I actually started out thinking I was going to be an English Lit major, but I did quite a few history courses in my first year, and really loved them and did really well, and just realized that I loved writing history essays, and that's what I wanted to do. So.
What kind of history do you like studying?
I majored in Victorian history, so that's 19th century Britain. And I've focused on medical and criminal history. So my undergraduate thesis was on women in melancholia. And then when I went to graduate school, I studied women in violent crime.
So when you were in the UK, did you ever go sightseeing to any of these historical sites?
Well, I had to do research trips in London, and so when I would be in London, I would work in the record office 6 days a week, and then Sundays I would sort of do touristy stuff, but not specifically related to what I was researching. I never went to see the closest I came was when I went to look at the old Central Criminal Court, because that's where so many trials happened. But that was it. Otherwise, Sunday was my day off, so I did things like went to museums and the art galleries and stuff like that.
So what did you think of the criminal court?
It's a large gray building. Yeah.
So you didn't finish your PhD?
No, I didn't. I really hated going to university in the UK, and just could not wait to get out and get back to Canada. And I got married a few months into my PhD, and my husband was still in Canada. And so I came back after I did sort of the required year of living in Durham. Came back, and I was then flying back to London for research trips when I needed to, and mostly working at home. I lived in Victoria then, and I just was becoming less and less satisfied with the feedback I was getting and that kind of thing. And then I started working at the Legislative Assembly, and it just became really easy to say, okay, I'm not going to do the PhD.
What didn't you like about living over there?
Well, the Durham, which is a very small city, very small, and it has a real divide between the town and the university. So there's actually a lot of hostility from the locals towards university students. And British programs, they're pure research degrees, or at least they were then, so you didn't do any courses or anything like that. So it was just me on my own in the library all the time. And one way that was a little bit appealing, because I've always been very research focused, but it made it really hard to get to know people, and I just felt really isolated, really homesick.
Do you prefer living in like bigger cities?
I prefer living in Victoria, yeah.
What did you like about Victoria?
Well, I lived there for a long time. My family moved there when I was 10, so as far as I'm concerned, that's where I'd grown up. And it's just a city I knew really well. That's where my family and my friends were, and it's beautiful, and so.
And then, why did you guys decide to move to Fredericton?
My husband got a scholarship to do a master's degree in writing at UNB, so we moved here for that.
What does he do for a job now? Is he still in UNB?
Yeah, he worked in publishing for a number of years, and he's actually come back. He's in the second year of a PhD at UNB.
So you're a book editor too, right? Yes. So what's your favorite part about the jobs?
Book editing? I like it when I get a manuscript that's it has enough of a challenge that I can feel like my contributions are making a difference to like shaping the story or helping the writer identify ways to strengthen their book, and see that develop and come to fruition. That's the best part. Yeah.
Is there a book that you looked at that stands out in your mind?
Other than Jan's, and I'd like to.
They don't know that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
fine.
Yes, I edited Jan, so that's how Jan and I met. I edited the last book. Yeah, so Jan's book was really great. Oh, Jan's very
That's
experienced.
the lead.
Yeah, that's the lead. Jan's very experienced, so she's the kind of writer where you just pretty much stand out of her way. You know, like she knows what she's doing. The one book that was a lot of work, but it was worth it, was Bobby G. McKinnon's book on the Dennis Oland trial. That was very intensive editing over a period of weeks. I was editing while she was writing, but it was a very collaborative effort, and then the book was a huge success. So I felt really happy really pleased with the work. It was worth the hours.
So how long does it usually take for you to go through a book and edit it?
Sorry, did you see the 2-minute signal? Okay.
To do a really good job, you need at least 3 months. Yeah.
So how do you get paid? Do you get paid by like the author themselves or through the...
No, you get paid by the publisher. Yeah. So, sometimes there have been a couple of people who hired me to work with them when they were even just developing something that they were going to try to get published. In that case, they pay you directly, and you agree on a fee with them. Or publishers contact you, and they've already acquired the manuscript, or they want to acquire a manuscript, and so they ask if you'd be interested in editing it, and they name a fee, and you counter, and then you agree on the fee and the terms, and like when you can expect to get the manuscript, and when they expect to get the manuscript back from you. Yeah. And then once all that starts happening, then you just work one-on-one with your editor.
Oh, yeah, can you? I'm just gonna go outside and get the next person.
I can grab them, Jan, if you want.
Okay, yeah, I gotta get some water. Come on.
Nice to meet you.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, I know you're editor of a book, so like, what are you interested in book editing?
It's a job that I always thought that I would like to have. I would always write along. So it was sort of one of the things that I thought, I'd probably be pretty good at that. along with other things, at one point I thought I'd make a good documentary filmmaker, and I thought I'd be a novelist. When I was in elementary school, I thought I'd be a journalist. So I just certainly that I thought that I would be quite good at, because I really like writing and writing nonfiction. So, yeah.
So was there a certain age that you knew you wanted to do it, or was it like always?
No, I think I sort of started thinking about it a bit more seriously when I was an undergraduate in university. And one of the things I did just sort of for extra money then was I helped people with their papers, and then some professors hired me to proofread articles or book chapters and that kind of thing, and I quite enjoyed it. And so that was sort of when I started thinking, that I'd like to do more of it. Yeah.
So before class, I noticed you were reading a book over there.
Yeah.
So is that like for work, or is that just for fun? And do you
That's just for fun.
So do you ever get sick of reading, or you just love it?
No, I just love reading.
You
yeah.
do?
Yeah.
So like you do it for work and you do it for pleasure
Yeah.
at the same time?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I read less when I'm editing, just because that's hours a day that you're spending there, and you're sort of very focused on that text. But even then, I'll still read like before bed or anything about it.
So you never ever get sick of it, ever?
The only time I have not been able to read was when I finished my honors thesis as an undergraduate, and my brain was just so fried that I could not follow a sentence from the beginning to the end, and I had spent a couple of weeks just watching The Simpsons. And then I think I graduated to back issues of Rolling Stone, and then I was able to start reading books.
So what are some things that you can take away from your job that you've learned there and to use in your everyday life? Is there anything?
I guess I'm a lot pickier about punctuation in my everyday life. Yeah.
So as a journalist student, I find myself realizing mistakes are in books and stuff. Do you,
Yes.
in articles, do you find yourself doing the same?
Oh yeah, yeah, all the time. Yeah.
So it says you're a freelance editor. So what is that?
So I don't, I'm not employed by a publisher, as an editor on staff. So I work for different publishers, and so when they have a manuscript that they think I might be a good editor for it, then the publisher will contact me and ask if I'm available and would like to edit the book.
So what kind of books do you usually edit? What's the genre, sorry?
Okay, so when I do substantive editing, and that's where you work really closely with an author on developing their entire manuscript and getting it ready for publication. I'm a nonfiction editor. That's what I do 90% of the time. And I tend to get a lot of memoirs, true crime, memoirs and true crime. I get a lot of, actually, and yeah.
So you said you're a freelance editor, and it's the publishers that hire you on to read over their clients' books? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so they've acquired a book, and it needs an editor, and so then they can, if they want me to substantive edit, they'll ask me about that. Sometimes I just copy edit, and that's where you're doing line editing and making sure the punctuation's right and the verbs agree and that kind of stuff.
Was there any certain books before that, or was it always the same? Now that you're editing this genre now, was there a genre before that they used to edit, or was it?
No.
It's always just been the same?
It's always, yeah.
Before you had a job in this field, where were your aspirations to go? What was your plan with this job?
I didn't have one at all. Yeah, and I kind of fell into editing. My husband was working in publishing, and so that's actually where I got started with, I think I started out, I copy edited a book for the company that he worked for, and then I proofread another one, and then I sort of grew into more substantial editing.
So which company did you work for?
He worked for Ainsly.
Okay, he worked for Ainsly. So that's here in Fredericton. So where do you see your editing going now? Do you see it taking off, going anywhere, or do you just think, what do you think?
I'm thinking about giving it up, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How come?
It's been I haven't had a really great book for a while. And yeah,
So what do you mean
thinking
by,
about maybe I'll do something.
so what's something else that you would do?
Well, I might write a book of my own.
Oh, okay, so what would that be about, do you know, like, would it be fiction, would it be
It'll be nonfiction.
nonfiction? So just, well, see what it's about, do you know, yeah?
It would be based on my master's thesis. Yeah, and that's. I'm holding my cards close to my chest right
Okay. So what does a day at the office or a day in the life of a copy or a book editor sort of look like?
Well, I usually edit from, like because I work from home. So if I've got a manuscript and a looming deadline, then I'm usually up pretty early and I do some editing before my kids are up and I have to deal with them and pack their lunches and take them to school and all that stuff. Then I come home and edit for a few more hours and then I go out for a walk or something like that. And then I come home and I edit a bit more and I usually do a bit more in the evening as well.
So when you're freelance, is it on like a schedule or can you just?
It's always on the schedule.
It's always on the schedule?
It's always, they send it and they're very clear about this is when we need this manuscript back from you. And so then you've got a certain number of weeks and then you have to negotiate with the writer how much time they're going to need when they get edits from you before they're going to be able to return the manuscript to you so that you can then, and the manuscript usually has to go back and forth 2 or 3 times, sometimes more.
So why did you come to Fredericton?
My husband got a scholarship to go to UNB.
So what was the scholarship for? Was it?
He was doing a master's in writing.
Okay, because is he a writer too as well?
Yes.
So does he publish or does he edit like you do?
He does both.
He does
Yes,
both?
Yeah, and so he worked in publishing for a few, he did his degree at UNB, worked in publishing for a few years, and now he's gone back, he's doing a PhD right now.
So you did Hansard, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Answered.
Hansard at the BC legislature in 2006. So do you prefer, did you like that over editing or do you like editing over that?
Well, they're very different, so it's hard to compare. Yeah, I was at Hansard for 6 years and really loved it. Yeah, very challenging place to work, and I was busy all the time, and that's what I liked.
So what's challenging about it?
Hansard? Well, it's very deadline driven. So we had 24 hours to have a finished transcript ready from, and when the House, was really busy, when you had the House sitting plus committee meetings and stuff like that, it was spinning a lot of plates to keep everything going, and you're also producing a draft transcript throughout the day that's being posted on the internet, and so our goal was always to have the words up on the screen within 45 minutes of them being spoken in the chamber or the committee room, and yeah, so.
So there's a lot of people in St. Thomas who are writing and love to write.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give to aspiring future editors?
Well, I think that if it's something that you're genuinely interested in, you should certainly pursue it. I think the best editors are instinctive editors, I would say. I think
Best editors are what?
are instinctive editors, yeah.
So do you mean instinctive? Like, what do you mean by instinctive? Like, just know what they're doing without even...
Yeah, your gut's telling you when something works, when something doesn't work.
So our time's up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get the 2-minute warning?
Yeah, he did,
Oh,
but
okay.
like it was kind of close to that, so I didn't know if...
Yeah.
Did you say 3 minutes?
2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks.
Who's next?
Can you, next is Deanna. What? You're gonna leave? What?
Sorry.
Sorry.
both as a student and professionally has revolved around history. So my first question is, why history?
I don't know that I have a good answer to that. It's just something that I've always loved. I was always interested in even when I was a little kid. And so then when I was at university, I just really loved writing history papers. And so I just decided to major in that.
Was there any paper you enjoyed writing the most?
Oh yeah, I mean, I like that. Almost all of them, really, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think probably the one that really sort of pushed me in the direction I went in for my graduate research was one that I did for a third-year seminar on a Victorian murder trial. And I loved writing it. I rewrote it so many times. I went through like a ream of paper.
How many times did you write?
I went through 500 sheets of paper before I had
Oh.
a finished essay to turn in. And yeah, it was so enjoyable.
That's nice. So in going off into your history research, what struck my attention a lot is that you went for a PhD after your BA. And the general rule or conception, I guess, is that people normally go for a master's degree before going for the PhD. And I was just wondering, why did you decide to go for the PhD first and not for a master's degree?
Well, at the time, my undergraduate advisor really pushed me to do that. He felt that the written work that I was churning in as an undergraduate was good enough that so that if I did a master's, I would just sort of be repeating myself. I don't know that it's very common anymore, but at the time you could, if you were judged worthy, you could just be accepted straight into a PhD program in the UK. And so I applied and I was offered a place.
And why did you do it?
Because you could go straight into a PhD, and also because I was doing British history.
Oh, okay. So you went to the UK to Durham, and why did you decide to leave the program?
I didn't enjoy it at all.
No?
No, and I had a really great relationship with my undergraduate advisor, and he was very demanding and almost statistically so, but he really pushed me my advisor in the UK was not very engaged in what I was doing at all. He didn't really have anything to offer me, I didn't feel. He could barely be bothered to read my papers, and then when his feedback would just be, yeah, this is fine. And I found that quite frustrating. I didn't want to just be told, yeah, this is fine. I wanted to be told what I needed to do to improve it, and yeah, I wasn't enjoying it, and I was really homesick. I just wanted to
Did you miss the snow? Or
no, because I was in Victoria.
Yeah.
We got 2 days of snow a year, if that, so.
Still snow. Did your thesis advisor only supervise your thesis or other people's theses as well in the UK?
The one in the UK? Oh, no, other people,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So you didn't feel he gave you enough attention?
No, he just didn't seem very invested in what I was doing, and yeah.
And did you have a moment during your PhD time in the UK where you had a breakdown and you thought, okay, this is it, I just want to go back to Canada?
No, it wasn't quite like that. It was just more after I did sort of the first year there. I came back to Canada, and then I would go to London to do research in the National Archives. And every now and again I'd take the train up to Durham to meet with my advisor, which would cost me hundreds of dollars in train fare for nothing. And then I was in Victoria and I was writing my thesis. And I just realized, you know what, if I get a PhD, that's gonna be the PhD that I have, and it's not gonna be the PhD I want to have. It's because it's not gonna come from a great experience, and I'm not gonna feel like I really earned it, and it just didn't feel right, and I just decided one day, I mean, I was working as well at Hansard by that point, and I just decided, you know, I don't think I'm gonna finish this degree, and so it wasn't really hard. The hardest thing was telling my undergraduate advisor. But he had told me that when he went to Harvard, he hated it, was miserable every minute, and he said to me, if the heroic decision would have been to leave, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. So I thought he'd really respect me for dropping out of my PhD program, but instead he said to me, oh, please don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah, he said, please don't. You know, I'd hate to see you not get your doctorate. And I just said, I can't stick it out. So.
Do you regret leaving it? Like, is it-
No, not really, because then later on, after when I had kids and I was going to leave work for a while to be home with them, then I went and I did a master's with my undergraduate advisor. So.
And you said you were feeling a bit like miserable at that time. Was your mental health compromised as well during that time that you were feeling not very well?
No.
Being homesick in the UK?
Oh, yeah, probably when I was in the UK. Yeah, I mean, I would just say it was homesick, but I mean, it was pretty all-encompassing. Well, it's really hard to. It doesn't sound like much when you say I'm homesick. It's just, you know, like it seems like, oh, well, you just sort of miss a place. But actually, I found that it really, like I thought about Canada all the time. And
Even in the bathroom?
Yeah, and I just really wanted to, you know, every day I'd wake up and I'd just feel like, oh, I'm in England. And I just want to go home.
Okay. And do you ever think you'll go for a PhD again now that you have your master's? No? Is it a lot of work? Or?
It is a lot of work, yeah, and my undergraduate advisor retired while I was doing my master's. So I wouldn't be able to work with him. And yeah, I don't really see the need for one.
And do you still have a close relationship with your advisor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as close as we can be, we're on opposite sides of the country.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but every now and again, you know, one of us emails the other one just to see what's going on.
So you mentioned you were the manager in Hansard for a good time. So what is your favorite memory from working there?
I don't know if I can share that. It was a really fun place to work. Yeah, and I worked with some really great people.
Yeah. So you say the people was the best part?
Yeah.
Why do I feel it is not exactly what?
No, it's true.
Yeah.
And I took the job really seriously, and you know, it's true, a lot of people don't know what Hansard is, but I felt really privileged to go into the apartment buildings every day, I felt that it was very important to do, that we all do our best for the people that we work for, which, you know, as far as I was concerned, was the province. We worked for the people of British Columbia.
Okay. Thank you. Is that?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Jared's up in the hall. Could you please
Yeah, I
get?
just
Okay.
wait down.
Okay. You need a break?
No.
Come on, girl. Okay, you're going, and Samuel's going to give you your 2-minute warning. Okay.
So my personal question for you after you've seen your CV, why Fredericton? Why are you here?
My husband got a scholarship to do a master's in writing at UNB, and so we moved here for that.
And are your kids enjoying the schooling system here? Are you enjoying the schooling system's impact on your kids?
My daughter, I think, is fine. My son found moving to Fredericton very difficult, and I don't think he's really gotten over it. Yeah, he didn't have a great experience.
And he's in high school now, so that's
Yes.
really a comfortable time to be in. So mitigating that in your career, is that a lot to deal with?
Well, yeah, I mean, there certainly are times where I think, where I'm sorry that we moved here, and disrupted their lives like that, you know. I mean, once you have kids, they just take over everything, and sort of, you know, your own personal feelings about things don't matter. What matters is how they are and how they're adjusting, and whether or not they're happy.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, he had a tough time in his first elementary school here, but he seems to be doing okay now. I mean, he's a very quiet person, and it's hard to know how much he changed. It is just, you know, he would have been like this anyway. This is just sort of, you know, the personality that would have emerged, or whether it's because we uprooted him. But he used to be a very outgoing kid.
Yeah. Do you feel it's a great community to be growing up in?
I have kind of mixed feelings about it, actually. On the one hand, I mean, you know, Maritimers have this reputation for being really friendly, and I have experienced some of that. But I also find that in Fredericton there's this real kind of closed-mindedness, or probably not articulating it very well. The one thing that really took me back when we moved here was the open hostility towards francophones, and I just thought we were moving to this bilingual province, that this was the one place in Canada that was going to have figured this all out, and then to just, you know, like every time something bad happens, somebody says, well, it's because all the money has to go to the francophones. All the money didn't go to the francophones, you know, to all people. And I don't know, I find it very odd, kind of disturbing, yeah.
That's really interesting. So your sons and daughters' names?
My son is named Kieran, and my daughter is named Nora.
So Nora, like Nora.
Yes.
Amazing. And so you came here after growing up in Vancouver and then moving to England and you met your husband.
I was born in Vancouver, but I really grew up in Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I spent a year in England for university. And yeah, but I really didn't, I mean, I didn't really move to England. I was just there for a year for university.
Was it a good year though?
No, it was horrible.
Oh, what was so bad about it? Was it the English?
Yeah, a lot of it was the English. Yeah, they're not like they seem on TV. Yeah, it was partly that. I was just homesick. Yeah, I think maybe if I'd gone to do, I mean, I didn't start university till I was 25, and so I think that if I'd gone straight to university from high school and then gone into this graduate program in my early 20s, it might have been quite a different experience, but you know, I was engaged to somebody who was staying on Vancouver Island, and so it just wasn't great. Yeah.
So, 25 going to university, what made you decide to that's what you wanted to do?
I just wanted something more, to do something where I felt like I had a good brain, and wanted to do something else with I mean, I was kind of working sort of uninteresting office jobs and that kind of thing, and it just didn't seem very dead end to me, and so I just decided, you know, I'd try university and see whether I like it, and I really liked it.
And so, like, taking university and trying to, do you think your kids are going to get into it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. My son's very bright, and and I think that I think he'll be like me. I mean, I didn't really enjoy, high school at all. But when I went to university, it turned out it was actually quite academic. And I think my son will probably be like that too. He's not very engaged in his coursework right now, but I think once he can go and just work on what he likes, he'll be fine.
Does your family really prioritize academics?
Yes.
You can tell me more about that then.
We mean my parents, or me?
You
Me and
and
my
your
husband.
parents.
Okay. Well, my husband and I certainly are very, prioritize academics, and but I mean, I was in my family. I was the first person to go to university, and actually, I'm the only one. My siblings didn't go, and I think when I started, my parents couldn't quite see why I was doing a degree. And certainly my mother was very surprised because, I didn't enjoy high school. I barely did any work at all. And I'd actually been expelled from a private school. So she was quite, Joan's like, what is this? So she was very surprised that I wanted to go to university. But, I went and I was paying for it, so I took it really seriously and I did really well.
So that responsibility just came naturally to you.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think I went at the right age. For me, anyway.
From being expelled to a private school to now a book editor, can you tell me a bit about your career and how that's kind of like come together for you?
So I got into book editing when my husband was working in publishing. And so I started out just doing like copy editing and proofreading of manuscripts. And then there was one particular book that I was given to copy edit, and it was such a hot mess that I basically ended up having to kind of re-edit it and copy edit at the same time, like rearrange some chapters and make some major cuts and to try to make sure that it was the best manuscript it could be. And so from that point on, that's when I started doing more substantive editing of books. So I'd be more involved in working with the author on developing the structure and figuring out, what's the best way for you to tell this story. And
So the difference between copy editing would just be like the text that's written?
that's line editing, yeah.
Okay.
Line editing.
So can you break it down for me?
Yeah, okay. So, well, part of the problem is that for me is that I tend to do a fair bit of line editing even when I substantively edit. There's some substantive don't do any line editing at all, but I find it really hard to read a page that has typos or tense problems, that kind of thing, without fixing it. So I tend to do it. But you're just going through it and fixing all the prose and polishing it and, making sure the words are right and the sentences are punctuated properly and consistently so that you don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. There's some variety, but you also don't do it, this way 4 times and a different way 3 times all on the same page.
Has it been difficult getting a lot of work in Fredericton for that?
Not really. I could be busier than I am, but,
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, pardon me? Oh, the camera. Can you turn it off? Can you turn it off? Oh, Jared.